Hi there guys, R&C here from the Leather Lounge. We're back. We had technical issues. We had to shoot offline and come back again. So here we are. Today we are talking about cracked leather and sticky leather. Sticky leather can be created from a multitude of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sticky sweet or a juice drink that's been left on the surface of your leather. It can be created from many different factors, and there is obviously different solutions to fix that as well with different types of chemicals. Cracking or anything like that can also be created through different types of products that can create that cracking. APCs, steam cleaning can accelerate and create cracking as well. But we're going to dive deep in and talk about sticky surfaces and cracked leather. So let's start with obviously all your sticky surfaces and the types of things that can create stickiness on the surface.
There's various things that can make the top coat go sticky. Mainly it is that top coat that's gone sticky. So there's different things. Heat can affect it, make it go sticky. So especially steering wheels, things like that. When we're talking about the home, then the body oils, sweat, just any body oil that comes out of the skin. This can be affected a lot when you take certain medication. It is really bad for leather. So the medication obviously secretes out of the normal pores of your skin, and your satin, where you put your hands or where you put your head back, often is really affected by that, and can go sticky. We do have a solution, however.
Yeah, there are obviously products to do that. So obviously with the medication, it's more things like people that are on like heart treatment, like blood thinners and that sort of thing. And what happens is as your body absorbs the actual chemicals from the tablet to help you with your medical conditions, what that does is it releases those chemicals through the pores of your skin, and it actually breaks down the clear coat and the paint on the surface. How you might recognize it, this is very extreme and this isn't what it is, but if you could imagine something going quite like dark patches like this is the sort of thing that you could get on the leather surface. It's a dark patch appearing to almost, here you go, where cups have been sat. There's another good example. That sort of thing there, cup rings. This is on saddling leather. So that is the sort of look that you're actually going to get, is this sort of browny color here. This is a perfect sort of example of what it's going to look like where sweat has been created, on an arm, bald people like me up against the back headrest. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's on medication, just sweating. At the moment we've got extreme temperatures around the world, and I'm sweating like crazy. If I was to lean against a couch continually for some time or even fall asleep, that sweat is actually going to start to break down the clear coat that's on the surface. That is then going to penetrate the clear coat. The paint becomes absorbent. It then gets into the collagen fiber. Game over virtually. So it's, in some cases when it's very bad, it's panel replacement, isn't it? So
yeah, you can feel it. You can feel that it's grease, because if you touch the surface, it feels it's like clammy. It's like it's a bit colder. And you can, if you can scrunch it up, if it's on an area that you can get between your fingers, it almost feels thicker. You can feel the grease. You can feel the grease in it. But we do have a solution.
Yes, there are. Yeah, there are products.
LRC 18.
The gel degreaser.
Gel degreaser.
Spatula. You're going to need the spatula like this, one of these, to apply a nice thick coating over the surface. This is a gel type product, as you can clearly see on the camera. It's a gel type product. What you can do, this is obviously solvent, is one of our solvent based products. We have very few in the range now. Unfortunately, we can't seem to change the sort of the sort of formulation of this to get it to work how we want it to without solvent in it, which is a great shame. So when this starts to dry out, it goes like a sort of white powdery. You might be able to sort of see on the odd area a little bit of white powdery in there, just at that bottom edge there, a couple of flakes there where I've stirred it. And it goes like a white powdery. So when that starts to dry out, it's a little top tip for everybody. Just simply add, which is why I brought it, some alcohol cleaner into it, stir it in with the spatula, it reformulates it, and you're away again. If you wanted to try to stop that drying out a little bit more, you can add some like sort of non-scented sort of talc in there, if that sort of thing, powder. It helps enormously as well to sort of keep it from drying out a lot quicker. But spatula it on, let it dry on the surface. That'll then go as it dries, like a sort of crazy paving effect. If it goes like a greeny brown, then you know you are drawing out sweat and
It's
grime.
working.
So yeah, it's definitely working. Yeah, if it stays white, then you know you're not pulling that sweat or grease or grime out of the surface, and it means you might have to do it again with another application. Once you've done it once and you've got all the sort of greeny brown coming out onto the surface, I would definitely give it another go, because you want it to be white when it's cured, not greeny brown. So if it's greeny brown, it means there's grease and grime in there that you're extracting. So once that's obviously put on and dried, we would get a vacuum, take the brush head off, put it onto the surface, and really allow that to suck onto the leather and get that extracted. Because what you're trying to do, if you can imagine this is a leather skin, you're trying to get the grease that's gone into it here. So you've got your dark patch here, it's gone into the skin, and you're trying to extract that grease out. So you need to pull that out. So that is one of the sort of top tips for doing that, is the soft, you want to like a nice attachment to the end. If you want to put some tape around it, you can. If you're frightened it's a little bit sharp, but as long as you're very careful, go slowly with that, you're not going to create any further damage. I mean, at the end of the day, once you've extracted with that grease, there is going to be no paint on there anyway, because the grease will dissolve the paint on the surface. So it is always a recolor job, no matter what happens. So obviously doing that, then I would just wipe that over with an alcohol cleaner, then you're ready to crack on with your restoration. Simple as that.
Yeah, it is usual for it to take more than one application of the degreaser, because the grease gets really deep into the leather. So you do have to draw it out probably 2 or 3 times.
Potentially, yeah, definitely.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And then restore it, and jobs are good. And
yeah, obviously with certain cleaners, you have to be careful. You've got a clear coat lacquer on the surface, and obviously you've got, this is a thick sheet of paper, but if you can imagine this is just a standard piece of paper. This is about 100 microns in thickness. Standard sort of sheet of paper, 100 microns. The clear coat that sits on the surface is around 5 to 10 microns. That sheet of paper is 100, so you can imagine how thin it is. The paint is around 20 microns. So you're dealing with very, very, very small microscopic amounts, on the surface. Now, there are certain products that can create that to go sticky. Obviously, APC is one of them. There's a lot of things that people use that are around the home that also do the same. We have seen people using things like sieve. I think that's what it's called today. Yeah, sieve, stuff like that. So, bleach, all those sort of things, just do not go there. Baby oil, to clean and soften and stuff like that. You don't want to go there. Steam cleaning, again, don't go there. It just softens and breaks down the surface, and it can leave the leather, prone to sort of staining a lot easier, creating that sticky surface again.
Some people use furniture polishes.
Yes, furniture polishes, yeah.
If you want it to look, a lot of people like it to look shiny. So they think if it shines up their sideboards and what have you in their living room, why not use it on the leather sofa as well? But it's bad. It's bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, you don't want to go doing anything like that, because it's just going to create problems. It's going to break down that clear coat. And what you're trying to do, obviously, protection is prevention at the end of the day. So the more you protect your surface, the longer it's going to last. The less likelihood you're going to have to replace it, quickly. So keep it protected at all times. People have this, this misleading myth out there that, leather isn't leather today, and it's got this clear coat on the surface, and you don't need to do anything with it, and we don't need to protect it. We don't need to feed it because you can't. Absolute bull. Bang on. Rubbish. Excuse the pun, bull. I know we're dealing with leather. But yeah, absolutely rubbish.
Swallow.
Yeah. Leather has got like a 1% breathability factor, and I mean, after 3 years, there's no clear coat on there anyway, so it's almost fully breathable. So it's you're back to square one again. So you're dealing with a very porous surface because the paint is porous, the clear coat isn't. So, you need to protect. It's very, very important that you do protect, because it stops all this grease and grime. It stops all the head grease. It stops juice and drink stains from staining the surface. It stops sticky sweets from staining the surface. It stops absolutely everything. So you just have to, make sure you protect, very, very well. And it will stop all of that. But obviously deep cleaning and, and protecting once every 3 months is a minimum. If it's a very, well-used couch or well-used car, There's daily, couch in a reception area. Then try to protect and clean, once every couple of weeks. That is the best thing you can possibly do to clean and protect as frequently as you possibly can. So,
definitely.
Should we talk about cracking?
These little guys.
Yeah, cracking. So we say little guys. So we've got this here. I'm going to have to bring this up to the camera so that you can see it. So let me just hold this up. So this here, you're not going to see me other than me peeking around the corner. She's going to have to peek over the top. So this here is different types of cracking that you can see on the surface. Here is fully restored. And if you can sort of get closer in, you can see the sort of patina there. You can still see the lines in the surface. But what we've done is we've reduced them down. In a lot of cases, this hasn't needed a great deal of filler in here, possibly a tiny bit of flexi filler, and that is about it. Most people see this and give very misleading information about how to restore leather. And you do not need a lot of filler going in here, because what is actually cracking is the paint that's sat on the surface of your leather skin. It's a bit like us. If you can imagine, for argument's sake, our hand, as you can see, it's got all these crease lines in. If we were to paint this and then start flexing our hand like this, it's going to crack where our natural lines are. So that is obviously what you're going to get, is the cracking on the surface where the paint is, and that is what creates it in a lot of cases. You do not need to fill them. There's another example here. This one here, look, as you can clearly see. Again, this has got a lot of cracking in it, and I've tried to put paint and then wipe it off so it goes into the cracking so that you can see it. Same here. Most of this can be removed with a prep stage. You do not need to fill. In most cases, it's potentially just a tiny bit of flexi filler in there. The heavy filler that we do have can come as coloured. This particular one is a red heavy filler, as you can see. We do them in varying fillers. This is more designed for sort of like bigger abrasions, like, holes sort of in this, not complete holes in the surface, obviously, because we have heat cure fillers for those, but more like much bigger abrasions, if you can sort of understand what we're talking about.
We normally say if you can get your nail right into it.
Yeah.
And you can literally feel it go down, back up, then you're going to need that heavy filler. For the finer cracking, so the bits that you can just feel, you can't go in and out of them, but you can feel the really fine cracks are there and see them as well, then we have the flexi filler. It is a lot finer, it's a lot softer, and it can be just swiped over with the spatula. Whereas the heavy filler, you're putting that in thin layers, thin layer and dry it, another thin layer and dry it. Dirt, overload, deep cracks with the heavy filler, because it will stay soft underneath. It won't cure on the surface. So you'll find yourself, after you've finished your whole restoration, with big problems because your filler would be liable to just pop out.
Yeah, because it's obviously not cured underneath. So if you can imagine that you're drying with a hairdryer, you've got a product that's obviously got water in it, because it's a waterborne product. It's a water paste at the end of the day. So that's going to feel dry on the surface, but underneath here, it's going to create more condensation. So it's going to stay wet. So you can think, well, this is really nice and dry. Let me apply my paint. You then grab hold of it. You then push it on the surface, and it just pops the filler back out and smudges, almost like it's melting, in fact, almost like it's literally melting on the surface. That's because you've not allowed it to dry thoroughly, and you've tried to do it too quickly, and you've tried to pile the filler on there. And we see this happening so many times, where poor misinformation is given to people that have been trained by companies, and they're just told to pile it on, do it, seal it, get the job out the door. It is the wrong, misleading information that you can give to somebody that's trying to run a business. Our business is about efficiency. Our training is about efficiency for the client, and it's about money and profit for them at the end of the day. You have to build in small layers, and it actually takes less time to dry a small layer than it does to dry a big, thick layer. Yeah. And you can actually get the job done a lot quicker by putting on the small layers compared to a big, thick layer. And you get less problems.
Definitely.
So, obviously the viscosity is very, very different, which is the thickness of the product compared to the heavy filler to the flexi. We have so many different fillers for different situations. If you can imagine, say, leather where it's worn, getting in on a bolster, getting in and out, and that's worn right through, and it's gone fluffy like a suede solution. We do have products to help us with that as well, which Carolynne will explain to you exactly how they work.
Yeah, so if you've got all your fibres stuck up, you've got an area that's gone more suede looking, it's fluffy, it's all like this. You can use aptly named fibre binder.
Yep.
So can you tell what it does? It literally binds the fibres back to make a good solid surface for you to apply the colour on top. It just, all them little fluffy bits poking up, they all lay down, they lay flat. So it's a very, very runny liquid, a very, you like to say, watery glue.
Like a watery glue, yeah. It's literally like a watery filler glue. It just is
like that, yeah. And it just sits them all back down when they're all poking out like this, and it sits them all down ready for painting.
Fingers cracking now. So yeah, so we got some filler for those. So 320 grit paper is what I would use once the fibre binder has gone over the surface and binded the fibres back together again. We would just lightly sand that down, because if you don't actually put the fibre binder on and you try to sand where it's gone suede, you're just going to create more sort of like suede effect on the surface. So it's going to make it more suede, going to make it more fluffy, and it's going to be even harder to try to restore. So that's where the fibre binder comes in. So lightly sand with 320, then you can carry on with your painting. And you'll get a really nice finish on the surface, because what it does is it, as Carolynne said, brings them all back together, binds them down, makes them nice and stable, and strengthens the whole thing in the process. So if it's got quite thin there, it will actually help strengthen them also.
Yeah, so all of the fillers we do are sandable, especially when you layer them up. If you layer that top layer just a little bit proud of where you want it, you can then sand back down, and you'll be sure to not get any little gaps or holes or delves and stuff in what you've applied. You can sand every single one of our fillers can be sanded,
yeah,
which is really useful.
Yeah, obviously they're very flexible as well, so you've got to bear that in mind. People say to us, will this shrink? Will it fall out? Is it going to like suddenly just pop out of the hole? No, it isn't. As long as you apply it properly, it will not, fall out. In the tanning industry, it's called like a stucco. They use the same thing in the tanning industry, to go into skins when they're preparing them, and they're sort of filling abrasions and stuff like that. So it's exactly the same thing in the tanning as what we're using here in the repair industry. It's just obviously much smaller pots compared to bloody great big huge pots like this, because they're obviously going through thousands and thousands of skins. So there's obviously varying products that you can use. Obviously piping on the hedge of seats and couches and stuff like that. Again, we have piping fillers. So, we have the piping fillers to sort of fill all the sort of holes on the actual piping and stuff like that. Again, it's sandable. This can also be coloured with a little bit of leather paint, LRC 14.
Not too much.
Not too much, no, not too much paint. You'll make it too runny. So you just want a little bit in there, just to give it a little bit of a tint. It just helps make it easier when you're colouring over, to make the process a lot quicker to do that. We also have quick dry filler as well, which Carolynne can tell you all about.
Quick dry filler, I think, is the only one that we've not covered yet. It is slightly runnier again than the flexi filler. It's best applied with a spatula as well, or if you want to just get your fingers stuck in there, you can do that. Make sure you wash your hands when you're finished. The quick dry filler, it literally does what it says. It dries really quite quickly, and that's due to it being thinner, really. So it goes a long way. It's useful for surfaces that are upright, because it does dry quite quickly. If you're doing the back of a seat or a steering wheel or something that's, like even the bottom of the steering wheel, this does dry really quite fast. So you can speed that up with a hairdryer, and just get on with the restoration. Again, if you need to apply a second coat, make sure that the first bit is really
dry. Make sure it's really dry, yeah. So that's actually quite a good one. I like to call it like almost, I use it in some cases where I call it like a finishing paste as well, almost like a finishing filler. Always remember to give them a real good shake. So I sometimes use this when I've put like a little bit of flexi filler on, and because this is quite thin, again, it's a very thin, quick dry filler. Hence its name, quick dry filler. I'll use it to sort of like level out a job to make sure that it's just finally filled those holes. I mean, the thing with when you're filling with holes, what you don't want to do, especially cracking, you don't want to go filling them completely, because you're making it going to look bloody plastic at the end of the day, and we don't want it to look plastic. We need it to look completely natural. Like I showed you at the beginning, with this one here, showing you where we've gone through, and you can still see the lines in here and here, even though you've got all the cracking running through here. Let me just show you that again so you can see exactly what I mean. Hopefully it'll pick it up. You can see the lines there. So it looks completely natural, on the restored surface. So it looks a completely natural finish. And that's what you want to try to achieve, is that natural look and natural finish on the surface of what you're repairing.
Yeah, they're designed to fill the actual cracking. They're not actually designed to fill the grain lines, which you don't want to lose them.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that one, actually. This is, again, another big thing. Carolynne's just sparked off a whole hornet's nest here. Yeah, the crease lines. We get a lot of questions from people. They're like, I want to fill the crease lines. Well, you can't, because it's very, very simple. They will just come back again naturally, because it's like our skin. We get wrinkles on our head. You get, wrinkles, in your hands, on your skin. No matter what you do, they will come back again, because it is your natural crease lines that you get. It can't be helped. They just come back naturally. So, for those that want to know about that, it cannot possibly be done. Yes, we can fill them, but they will just come back again. So it's just a pointless exercise, and you're just wasting your money. And we wouldn't want you to spend money with us where you're just going to waste it. We want you to have, a job done right, that's professional, that lasts, rather than something that does just go wrong in time, because it will go wrong in time if you use the product for that purpose, because that's not what it is designed for.
Mm-hmm. Can we just show the difference on this side? I can't lift it myself.
Yeah. So what are we doing?
So when you see these ones here, that is cracking. You can feel that. You can hear that my nail is getting stuck into that crack.
That's cracking.
But these ones here, this is just the crease line. So that's not going to take any filler at all, but it will colour. You can get colour into there, and you can seal it, and it won't look dark like that anymore, because obviously the dirt's dropped into there. And eventually it probably will crack. But at the minute, that's just a crease. You can't feel any ridge at all when you rub your nail over there. So that is just a crease and just needs prepping and colouring.
So again, yeah, something like that. Obviously, protection is prevention. So the more you protect, the less likelihood you're going to have, to do restoration there. So that's obviously keeping the surface soft and supple. It's keeping the paint that's set on the surface also very flexible. When you don't keep that protected, obviously that paint is always drying out. So one of the worst inventions for seats is heated seats. They dry the leather out from the inside to the top out, completely. It's one of the worst things you could have, is a heated seat in a car or a heated steering wheel. They feel great. Yes, I have them in all our vehicles, but by gone, they're just nothing but a nightmare, because it just dries the leather out. So if you can avoid using heated seats, guys, and steering wheels, try not to use them.
Especially when you're getting in when you're wet. So
yes,
you've got caught in the rain, your coat's absolutely soaked through, and you jump in your car. You don't want to take your coat off because you're a bit chilly, but you jump in, you put your heated seats on, and so you're creating steam then, because you've got the heat, you've got the moisture trying to go down, you've got the heat rising up.
I'm sat on a seat. I want to show you something.
You're creating your own steam. You're steaming your seats. So just try not to get in soaking wet. Take off whatever is wet and try, hang it over behind you or something, which is what I do. I hang it over from creeping in the side with a cushion. Just try, shove your coat in the boot, and don't forget to get it out. Go mouldy.
Yeah. So obviously what you can see here with all these natural things, this is all natural lines, but because this has been left to go so far. So what we've done is, with this particular couch, all the back has been restored, and these lines that you see in here are natural crease lines. Now, what's happened here with the seats is we've left them completely, because the actual bases, as you can see, have now cracked severely, because they've not been protected properly. Then you can sort of see here where it's going to start sort of peeling and stuff like that. So this is because this is cracked on natural lines, but because it's not had protection, it is then cracked on those natural crease lines. So that's where you get a problem, because protection at the end of the day is prevention. So the more you protect, the less likelihood you are going to end up with damage like that, which, if left any longer, they are going to be holes right the way through, and then you're going to have to start replacing. So it just makes it non-viable to repair because it's actually then cheaper at that point when they've got splits all over the place. It's actually cheaper to replace than it is to repair. Obviously, it depends how sentimental that item is. The last two that we've got, these ones cure by heat. These are grain fillers. So we have a grain base compound, which also works perfectly on hard plastic trim, that one right there. And then we have the grain copier, that one right there, which we use on leather, only to create grain on the surface. So if it's a big hole, like a cigarette burn, we would apply the base grain into the base of the hole, pushing it into all the sides to make sure it's nicely pushed in so it's got a lot of grip. And then we would finish off over the top with the grain copier. So how they work is you heat cure the first one up with a piece of Teflon over the surface, apply your grain copier, grain pad down, Teflon paper, and heat with the heat iron. These will not dry. These will not dry with a hairdryer. And all of these fillers that we've shown you already, all of these fillers, these will not dry with a heat iron. So you've got to remember that. Even though they all cure by heat, this cures by heat iron, and these cure by hair dryer. So there's a big difference, because if you try to accelerate them with a heat iron, you'll dry them out too quick, which shrinks them too fast. It gives them basically like a chemical shock, and they just sort of like disintegrate. Yeah, it makes a sticky mess, and it sort of like disintegrates. So it like, or it actually the chemicals aren't bonding together; they all like fall apart. So yeah, it becomes an even bigger problem. I hope you like that. I hope you found it, informative regarding the fillers and the obviously sticky situation on the surface caused by all sorts of things like APC and engine cleaners. Believe it or not, we've had people use degreasers. People have used on leather. It just destroys the clear cut. It just makes it go. Yeah, tire dressings as well. Can you believe it? Again, don't use all those sort of things. Magic razors. Microfibers, they're all bad. Scrub pads, all those sort of things, are all very bad for leather, because it starts to break that clear coat, which then starts it to go sticky on the surface. So that, guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is episode 3. It is the 14th of July, and we hope you found that useful, learning all about sticky cracked leather. Yes, we can help you fix it no matter what it is. Let's get it fixed and solve your surface problems. We are the surface experts when it comes to leather, and we have been involved in leather for over 40 years. So let's, get cracking on the next episode, which is going to be episode 4, and cracking on the next episode. See how I do the jokes around here. So we're looking forward to seeing you then. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. Do ask questions on the video once it goes out on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give us a like. Please share them. That's how we grow in business. The more you help us, the more we can bring out even better products than before. Even different products that we can help our industry to provide this information that we love to provide for free to people. So, the more you help us, the more we can help you. It's all about sharing and caring and leading with love from the heart, guys. So the more you do, the more we can do for you. And my new book is coming out. It's going to be great. I'm not going to tell you what the title is, but I can't wait for that to come out. It's still in the process of being written, but we're not far off with it being completed for the first one. We have planned for many of them to come out in a series of books, and this first one is going to be a cracker. It's going to be a good one, right from the beginning to where we are today, with some little bits missed out, because that's going to be in another book. But this one is giving you some industry insights into things that's happened to us by competitors as well as other things. And it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. See you there, guys. I'm Richard. She's Carolynne. She's going to tell you as well. We're R&C, and this is the Leather Lounge. Anything you need to know, hop on over to the website, leatherrepaircompany.com. See you soon. Ciao.